Disney doesn't make them like they used to. The Black Hole is not a good movie, but the good things about it were worth the watch. For those who don't know, it follows a team of astronauts who discover this one spaceship next to, well, a black hole, what the hell else, where the ship's eccentric captain is somehow the only survivor of the ship, having created robots to help him stabilize the ship so he can go straight into the hole, believing that there's a safe way out. But because even the astronauts know he's insane before discovering dark secrets about the former crew and his ultimate motive for going in, it becomes a race against time to escape the ship before it's too late. Now, the one thing that makes this a consistently watchable film is the atmosphere it creates. The spaceship in question feels like its own character thanks to the production and set design, which all look incredible. They don't make practical sets this massive and thorough in detail as much as they used to. And the cinematography's use of wide shots, long tracking shots of characters exploring each room really emphasizes how massive in scope, vast, and empty the environment is, much like space itself. Even in a scene that goes nowhere, it feels tense every time characters wander through empty hallways. A door automatically opens where they have no idea what's on the other side, if anything at all. The special effects range from being pretty good for its time to being about as real and convincing as Dolly Parton. The green screen is about as obvious as mine, where characters standing in front of it, like me, are always glowing green and their faces kinda turn blurry, and it really takes you out of the experience, while also making me feel much more confident in my Final Cut Pro abilities. There's also clear moments where some droids are clearly dressed up as mannequins, especially when the sets start to collapse on themselves, but the way the robots interact almost makes up for it. And I'm not talking about the Battlestar Galactica looking robots, because they're clearly actors in suits just acting robotic, which is hilariously awkward in and of itself, but these two identical droids, Vincent and Old Bob, were always impressive to watch. They float in the air, do all kinds of turns and maneuvers in one shot, making you feel like they're operating on their own. And every robot does a great job of physically expressing emotion with just the turn of their head, how fast or slow they move, and the position of their, for lack of a better term, eyes or mouth, without any dialogue whatsoever. It also helps that the robots are easily the most enjoyable characters in the film. Roddy McDowall and Slim Pickens voice two identical droids with differing personalities who work off each other and the other crew members so well. Now, the problem is, the robots surprisingly have more emotion than most of the human characters in this. And I give the writers credit for trying to write more mature characters who actually spend most of their dialogue debating what's the best course of action and their strategic movements, seeing as how they're in space, where there's always a threat of danger, whether it be from human or nature. But the movie's version of acting mature is to have everyone speak in this flat, stoic manner. I mean, 20 minutes in, they're struggling to steer their ship away from the black hole. It's a life or death scenario, yet they never look or sound scared for their lives. And this stoic, flat, wooden acting takes the tension out of so many crucial scenes. Robert Forster's the one crew member who comes across as convincingly stoic in nature, and actually makes him seem to be the smartest and, for lack of a better term, most charismatic member of the team. Ernest Borgnine was actually allowed to have more than one emotion, which for a while made him good to watch, but halfway through he started to backtrack on his own ideas for escaping, and he started making some dumb, selfish decisions that just came completely out of nowhere. Unfortunately, Anthony Perkins as the one character who actually sympathizes with the captain just sounds dull and disinterested when he's clearly trying, and they actually do give him plenty of reasons to actually agree with the captain on certain things, while also not turning a blind eye from the more sinister secrets that are revealed. Yvette Mimieux, on the other hand, not only is wooden the entire film, but her character literally only exists because they needed a woman in the film. Beyond that, her backstory, despite being the most fleshed out, doesn't actually come into fruition for the plot. She kinda sorta has a romance with Robert Forster. That goes nowhere. She's telepathic with the Roddy McDowall robot. That goes nowhere. Her father was one of the dead crew members of this captain's ship. That goes nowhere. Seriously, they don't even pull the twist of her dad being one of the robots. The villain never taunts her about the way he died. They take no chances with this, and don't get me wrong, it would have been a predictable twist, but you don't introduce a backstory like this just to be a red herring. If anything, that's even worse. I grade these reviews on Letterboxd, and I was originally going to give this a 3 out of 5 because the atmosphere was cool and occasionally creepy. Some of the acting was decent, and there was a clear attempt at making a sci-fi horror from Disney of all places that was more psychological than your average popcorn flick. Then the climax happened, and I got confused with whatever it was they were trying to do. The last half hour went from being 20,000 Leagues in Space to having these Star Wars style shootouts that were more resembling a Buck Rogers serial that was unintentionally but fun in a campy way, with some creative kills here and there. Everybody who's seen this has already talked about the meteor shower that's somehow a bigger Deus Ex Machina than the Lord of the Rings Eagles, where the meteors look more like moon lanterns than solid rock, and the crew can somehow outrun one that crashed into the ship. At odd points, they can go back and forth from walking to 0G in the exact same scene, or breathing in space without oxygen. I'm not even kidding on this. And the ending itself just had me sitting there thinking, what the fuck were they thinking? I won't give it away, but it's trying to have a 2001 style up for interpretation ending that's pretty easy to interpret and is still a stupid ending at best. But like I said, the good things about the black hole are good enough for me to say that I enjoyed myself, even though most of the creative choices are still questionable at best. Now, how the fuck do I get out of here?